Welcome everyone to the monthly technical steering committee of the EVerest Open Source Project. We have a packed month for you. Actually, it was this time only 3 weeks, but still a lot of things happened. We have a patch release of the EVerest project 26.02.1, couple of new features, and also a lot of critical bug fixes. So we used the opportunity of all the new top LLM models, Fable and Mythos is etc. coming out, and did some further code scanning and found a few things, and they all got fixed. EVerest support is merged. We got a new multi-OCP module where you can do OCP 1.6 and 2.x with the same config, with the same module, so you don't have to reconfigure big. And we got DR support into EVerest, and all of that we'll walk you through, but we have to quickly show the antitrust policies. There might be competitors here in the room. So in that case, please behave, have a look here, and then let's get into the development updates. And Pete, stage is yours. Let's start with the core updates.
Yes, we already mentioned it in the highlights. A pull request that was open for quite a long time has finally been merged. So EVerest is now supported within EVerest. And the first use case that we support is the LPC, so the most standard use case for this. The -20 module has also been extended. I think a couple of PRs are related to this with DR functionality. So a lot has happened with that regard, or at least been merged in the last month. The Carlo Gavazzi power meter got an update for improved OCMF transaction state handling. We have merged the PR that was adding more documentation around how we handle deprecation and also experimental components in the future. There was a refactor around CMake to reduce build dependencies for the libraries that we have as part of the mono repository. The EVSE v2g, EVSE security, and the EVSE manager module have been extended to publish more telemetry data that's not necessarily shared within the internal EVerest interfaces, but still could be relevant to be analyzed. So that makes use of the telemetry features that modules can leverage. Yeah, I mentioned the -20 support already. And the extended DER support. So there are a couple of more pull requests related to this. Basically, they split up in creating the interface for the DER and then integrate this in the EVerest modules that are relevant, so OSPP and the respective ISO 15118 modules. Two things that I wanted to highlight here that are currently in progress is the shutdown handling of EVerest modules. We are quite close with a pull request that we prepared that allows modules to implement a shutdown handler so that they can be properly torn down and then eventually also be restarted. So we're currently working on this. And on top of that, we will publish an EVerest configuration API that will allow integrators to retrieve the active configuration, create new configuration slots for EVerest, and also modify configuration of EVerest modules and even do that at runtime so that there will be functionality inside the modules that are able to receive requests for changing certain configuration, and then the individual modules can respond to this. So those are important upcoming features that we are currently working on. Next slide. On the cloud side, we also had it in the highlights that the OCPP multi-module, how we call it, or now, for now call it, has been merged. We're still thinking if we want to rename this. I mean, OCPP would probably just be the most appropriate name, but that's already taken by the 1.6 implementation. And since module names are quite important in EVerest within the configuration, we need to see how we if we want to change this. But yeah, this module is now marked as experimental. We need to see if we can promote it before the release. We're not quite sure yet, but yeah, we may change the module name or configuration of it, but it's now available and it supports both protocol versions, which means you don't have to change your EVerest configuration or the switch between 1.6 and 2.x. And they also rely on the same OCPP storage. So you don't have separate configurations for 1.6 and 2.x. So from a usability perspective, that is quite nice. Also, lots of documentation has been updated around this, so the existing tutorials and integrations and also migration guidelines from migrating from old modules to the new multi-module, all of that's supported and documented. Another important thing is that we harmonize the variable addressing via the OCPP API so that you can now access 1.6 configuration the same way you access 2.x configuration. And that there's also only a single source of truth for both of them. And then below are two minor points, additions to OCPP 1.6. So we also send signed metadata now at the start of the transaction. It's not really required by EVerest, but we notice that it's part of the white paper and also good practice if there's already a start signed meta value to also send it immediately. And we extended the 1.6 stack with two additional configuration keys that basically define how the stack should respond when on a remote start there is no connector ID provided by the CSMS. There are a few follow-up things that we now plan with OCPP multi being merged. The one thing is that we allow for a flexible configuration of network settings through the OCPP API. It's already supported in kind of in a way that we want to extend so that you can also use it for OCPP 1.6, for example, and that you also have control over the network interface that you want to use to bind your WebSocket connections. For example, you may want to use or try to connect with your modem first and set up your modem and then connect. And if this doesn't work, you fall back to a wired connection so that we have some support for integrating this with EVerest. And the second thing is we want to improve the mapping between the OCPP device model variables and the EVerest configuration now that we have runtime configuration changes supported or plan to support those. That's, of course, also interesting to integrate changes that we receive by the CSMS and forward this to the respective modules. And also here, we don't want to duplicate configuration. So we want to flexibly integrate what EVerest provides as part of module configuration also in the device model and let this be controlled by the CSMS if required. Next slide. Right, I mentioned the stuff that we did around the DER support in libICE 15.11.8, so adding AC, DER, IAC state machine. There was also a larger refactor around the TLS support that we have in EVerest around the connection SSL adapter. I think Quello contributed the flexible locking mechanism in the EVSE manager. So usually we locked the connector automatically when going from state A to B. And now it's basically configurable what you want to do and if you want to wait for authorization, if you want to lock the connector or not. That's basically it. On the car side, the colleagues are currently working on the ACDER SAE state machine. And there's also ongoing work on the implementations of the -2 in libICE 15.11.8 and the EVSE as well as on the EV side. Yeah. and VMT is probably Kai.
I think this is on Kai.
Yeah. So basically, as Marcos mentioned in the beginning, the current patch release of the 2026 February line contains all kinds of security fixes, and it's therefore strongly recommended that you upgrade to that. They are also all in main, if that's what you are preferring to use. Details on the fixes there and the kind of issues that were found are in the release notes that are linked on this slide as well. And yeah, we are also currently tracking quite a bit of things that we found over the last couple of weeks with some tool assistance that will probably make their way in the next patch release as well.
Anything where you see it has a high risk of being exploited short term, or how bad is it?
I can't say right now. It's still being sifted through at the moment. So
I mean, especially the ones which got fixed, the ones listed here.
You mean that? I think in the end, there's nothing really that super critical. I would say it really depends on the threat vector. I think the worst thing is that you can basically bring EVerest to crash with basically plugging in a vehicle, for example. But like, for example, I think the last one, this system module issue kind of requires a malicious CSMS to inject things. So yeah, the threat model is all over the place with these, and it's probably quite interesting to read through the release notes and the additional links that are in there with the different with the different vulnerability reports and things like that. So nothing extremely important to highlight probably, but all of them are probably worth fixing.
So then, Pete, you want to take that? I mean, we got accepted last time, but maybe quickly recap.
Yeah, so last time we discussed the introduction of a deprecation policy and also experimental components. So for the deprecation, we did not really specify this out yet, but we decided that components of the public API will go through a deprecation period before eventually being removed. So this really becomes relevant when we publish the next release, where some components will be marked as deprecated and then eventually be removed in the release that's upcoming in next year. So probably April next year. As I said, we may put this label on the OCPP components. Depends a little bit if we are confident enough to move forward with OCPP multi and take the experimental label away. There are a few smaller examples of configuration parameters of certain modules that were not really used or useful that we will mark as deprecated. But yeah, everything actually becomes relevant only when we move closer to the next release. So there will probably, maybe even at the event conference in September, where maintainers will sit together and we discuss what we want to do here. The experimental label we added in order to introduce components more quickly, but also allowing us to change them if that's needed without going through the full deprecation process. So this allows us to be flexible. The EVerest module has this label at the moment, and the OSPP multi as well. Let's see if it really only becomes important if we take those labels into the next release, but that's a little bit to be discussed. But yeah, it allows us to iterate a little bit faster. And since we did not really have that formally specified, we now have put all basically what I said and probably a little bit more into formal documentation so that it's transparent to the community.
Thank you. So what else happened in Everest? So recap, last 3 weeks, I think we have not been out there. There was no festival, no conference, no trade show, but it was also only 3 weeks because we shifted the last event, the last TSC. And upcoming, next week we have finally again our CPO forum. The topics we will discuss I just sent around over the email list, but it's around OCPP, type switching. It's about AI work with Everest. It's kind of a summary what happened in Everest over the last months. And next to the CPO forum, let me skip the working group overview. We're also doing the event where we want to bring CPOs, but also vendors together. You see quite a couple of company names here. They are all on stage telling about the engineering challenges, about the engineering stories. I think that will be quite interesting. And maybe there's 1 or 2 names being swapped. I think let's say 1 will be added for sure. We got 1 free spot. And yeah, really looking forward to get there as many people as possible. For the next, I think, 2 weeks, there are still reduced entrance fees. So I think it's quite cheap to join. We're basically only charging the food right now to make sure everyone shows up who signed up. And yeah, it will be tech content, it will be networking, so please join. And the days after this 1 day of talking, we want to bring people coding together. So the maintainers of Everest, those who are interested in becoming maintainers or at least becoming contributors or users. I think we already have, almost filled half the places we have for the hackathon. So please make sure you sign up soon. This is totally free of charge. Pionix is sponsoring some pizzas and you have to take care of your accommodation yourself. If you have issues paying for accommodation or travel, the Linux Foundation has a special fund, the Shuli Goodman Memorial Fund, where you can apply for subsidies if you can't afford travel. There's no official criteria. It's just a case-by-case decision. But there is a way to help you if you want to join this, but you can't afford travel over to Europe or to Germany. So please don't be shy. Want to see everyone there who is interested in open source EV charging, Everest and beyond. So we'll also have CPMS people there who are doing things and maybe cross-integrating things. It will be quite funny. And the entire overview, you see that September is totally crunched with events. We're starting with ICNC. As part of ICNC, there will be a breakfast event where we just opened up the registration page for Everest and Citrino as interested guys and girls. We have the event I just talked about. We have the hackathon. We have the LF Energy Summit the week after. Within that, there will be at least 1 talk about Everest, but also a couple of meetups. And then the week after, there's Sharon and OCA, Plugfest and Festival. I think also in parallel, we have the Mobility Week Europe. I think there will be even more things in those weeks. So September will be super busy, and then going forward, I also heard in October there's an ELA festival for the home energy management protocols like S2, EEBus, and Matter. Let's see if we also be there. And I've also heard there's festivals in France around MCS. So there's more to come, definitely. And if we're missing something on those lists here, please let us know. Especially October is still a bit empty here. And that's it. We will see each other on the 27th of August. So now we have a 5 weeks pause in between. So and then right in front of the really, really heavy, busy September. Please join the working group meetings. Please join our email list or go on Zulip and discuss and chat with the folks over there. And yeah, that's it. We'll stop the recording now and see if we have any discussions in the room. See you all next time.